Hello and welcome back to Flipping Motors UK. Today you find me in the workshop. It could be everything. This could be a valet bay, showroom or a workshop. Little tool set all handy. So we had some bad news on the 107. Well, I found it myself actually after the mechanic did a pre-MOT. The sill is absolutely rotten on one side, so that needs sorting. So that's a massive shame. It's put a massive downer on things, and also there's a couple of other little bits and pieces that it needs. This one I found needs front discs and pads. The inner surface is super corroded, so we are going to be replacing them. Well, I am going to be replacing them. While we're at it, I found it needed a rear shocker. It was knocking a little bit and it's lost, well, most of its fluid actually. I don't know if you can really see it under here. Possibly not, but it's very damp. So I'm actually trying to save some cost after my experience and, well, just do it myself. So rear lights are off. Reason for that is because we do a water ingress kit. We'll also be taking the third brake light out. It is bonfire night, by the way, so I do apologise. Okay, but I'm hard at work. So we've had the two 14mm bolts out the back of here. This all needs to be off anyway for the water ingress kit and getting the rear lights out. Okay, make sure if you are ordering these, you get the ones for the Aygo, or there's a separate one for C1s and 107s. So this is all off. I've just got the 14mm bolt underneath off to take off this rear shocker. We'll have a little look at it when it comes out. One thing you may want to remember if doing bolts like this is if they start going tight, you might want to work them backwards and forwards because we don't want the bolt snapping. The reason for this is obviously they're exposed the threads to the elements. So it might seem like they crack off pretty quickly, but if you start going a little bit tight, like I'm doing it here, work it backwards and forwards. I've already soaked it in WD-40. Excuse me, it's doing something. I think that's nearly off there. So this is what you need to be doing, but jobs like this, I mean, I'm not advising you to go about playing with brakes if you don't know what you're doing, because that could just work out absolutely dangerous. But if you know a thing or two about cars, bolt on bolt off jobs like this, you could be able to save a bit of money on if you have the time. I'm here late at night, so I clearly don't have the time, but guess what, I'm doing it anyway. I'm a tight northern bloke and I want to save a bit of money and make sure my cars are prepped correctly, of course. So here you go, here is our shock absorber. You can see that it's been leaking away, hence the knocking noise, and does need replacing. So we'll take this boot cover off, swap that over onto the new shock absorber, get the bottom bolt in place and then fasten it up at the top. There we go, we've got the new shocker going in now. I'm tightening that up. As you can see, I've got the jack under the shocker cup just to help it find the hole. There you go. So that's going in nicely. I'll probably remove the jack shortly, allowing it to tighten up. And as you can see, it needs to be coming through on the top as well. And then we've got a shocker cup and washer down here, and we've got two bolts on there just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere as well. These are just off a bit of trim that I've partly removed on here. Okay, so not the most difficult job, but if you took that to a garage, you're probably looking at about 40 or 50 pounds worth of labour. It's so far taken me about 20 minutes, if that. There you go there. So make sure your top bolt is tight. You don't need these overly tight on these, because see, I've got a rubber washer underneath. But if you get this one here, this is a new bolt. In fact, no, we'll use this one because there's nothing wrong with the old one. So this is almost like a lock-in one. Essentially, if that bolt failed there or something, this one's going to hold the shocker in place, because if that flies off while you're driving, let's face it, it could be pretty dangerous. So let's get, they're both 14mm. I mean, that feels pretty safe to me there. That's definitely not going anywhere. They will always spin. It's a shock absorber. Make sure it's nice and central as you line it up as well. And that looks pretty good. Just got the cover to go back on. and you'll be able to see that it does match this side. Alright, so we'll get the cover back on. We're not going to get this built back up yet, because I'm going to take these rear lights apart and get the new sail kit on. There you go, so this is the back of the tail lights. I'm going to pop it on the back of the BMW here and show you what goes wrong. So this is one of the sails that goes. Like I say, you can get a full kit with that and the third brake light off eBay for £6. I've started peeling it off already, and you can see that we have got signs of water ingress potentially on there. So what we need to do now is this surface where it sits. I'll show you the modified part. There you go, this is a modified one, so it's a much thicker foam. This one, it's quite soft, and you can feel there has been water ingress in there. They literally just stick on there, so you need to make sure the surface is nice and clean around there. I'll be getting that cleaned on and a new one stuck on. There you go, so that's all nicely stuck on now, so that should prevent the ingress of damp. Like I say, we're doing a third brake light as well, but there is other things you have to look for, like the flaps on the rear bumpers and the brake light stoppers. So the boot stoppers as well. They can be sealed up, but hopefully this one should help on this little Aygo. Nice and straightforward. Like I say, it could prevent a lot of complaints from your customers in the future. For the sake of £6, and probably not even half an hour's work. There you go, so rear lights are back in now, all sealed up. You've just got this little 10mm here. I've got a little spanner in there to tighten them. There you go, nice and straightforward once you've popped these plastic trims off. Nearly there with that one. It's hard to do this one-handed while you're filming, you know. I could invest in an apprentice. There we go. Surely can't be worse than the last mechanic, but there we go. So that all needs popping back in there, and these are really straightforward. So these clip in, and then you've got two little clips. You've got this one here, a little spring clip. Get that in the hole. Oh, there we go, and clip that in. Little flimsy things, but they're not going anywhere. And then you finally got one little bolt, little screw, sorry, in. Hey, I'll tighten that up shortly. We'll get the same done on the other side. There we go, final little bit, all screwed in. So that's a rear boot built back up. All we need to do now is get the third brake light out. This bit really is simple again. You've got a couple of little screws in there, one on each side. Has this been out before? Potentially. And the roof for now. Other side, you will need a trim clip to get this out. A lot of these have been bonded in before. Yeah, like this one, look, you can see there's signs of sealant by the look of it on this little screw. Yeah. There you go. So we need to be careful getting this one out. Or do we? No. Nice and straightforward. But as you can see already, there's water absolutely everywhere. It's soaking behind here. So yeah, this is probably more than likely where it has been leaking. Someone's put some sealant in, which has probably made it even worse. So we need to get all this cleaned off on the back of a third brake light and get the proper upgraded seal on there so it actually remains watertight. There we go. If you say fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So I've cleaned off all this. It's a nice smooth surface. So that should work now. It was absolutely sodden. It looks like we've had 2 attempts because there was some creamy substance and some type of sealant or whatever on it, and it's obviously not worked. So hopefully this time, because we prepared it all correctly, we've got the right upgraded seal. It should be able to hold the water out of the boot of this little Aygo. So we'll get that in shortly, get the new sticker on, and there's lots of fireworks going on outside. So like I say, I think it's coming up bonfire night, so I think we're going to have our own Flipping Motors UK firework display next year. Great place for a firework display here. There we go, that is all done, but I have just lost a game with myself. So I basically told myself if it was before 7 o'clock, I'd stay and start on the brakes. If it was after 7 o'clock, I could go home, have some tea, have a shower and go to bed. Sadly, it's 10 to 7, so we're going to be making a start on the brakes. I don't have facilities to drain oil here, so that'll be left to another garage. I think my JBM Jim Bean, he is back off holiday next week. Yippee. So I've got a few jobs for him. Service and MOT on this being one of them. and possibly some welding on the other 107 being the other. I know it's not going to be cheap, but I've made a start on it now. I'm going to have to finish it, aren't I? So we'll get all these discs and pads out. Might do one side tonight. It is Sunday tomorrow, and I really do need my bed. So make a little start on it, and I'll show you what I do. If you don't know, if you don't really know cars, I wouldn't advise you start playing about with brakes to start with, because let's face it, if it goes wrong, you could kill someone. So I am a trained mechanic. I actually stopped because of my back pain. I mean, it's not stopping me today, though, is it? But off we go. We're going to make a start and start getting the brakes done, this little Aygo. I just want to find out the calipers are going to be all okay. And what we'll do tomorrow is we'll do a little water test on this Aygo to make sure that it's not still leaking. It was absolutely peeing in from there, though, so I think it's going to be absolutely fine. I think, was there a little pool in this one? Yeah, I wouldn't say a pool, but there's a bit of damp in there, isn't there? Let's crack on with the brakes anyway. There we go, we'll get it all jacked up with an axle stand, obviously. We're going to get it off now, this little steel wheel, not very heavy. It's over there, nice and safe. And let's have a little look what's going on. So the brake discs, as you can see, they are quite scored. They are quite hard to tell through the steel wheel, so I didn't notice before. However, I'm going to show you the other side. They are very, very corroded, let's just say. The rest of the car looks in pretty good condition, all the arms and so on. No splits on the track rod end boots, no leakage from the shocker. The spring's all intact, there's no brakes on that. And the brake pipe's also in really good condition too. So we should be okay from an MOT point of view. We'll check the other side too very shortly. But to do the brakes, so you've got your brake discs, which is this part here. You don't need this off to do the brakes, that is the main part of the hub to get your drive shafts out. However, you do need to get the two 13mm bolts on the back there, and once we've got that off, I'll show you the brake pads and also the carrier bolts at the rear. There we go, so the little grub screw, little Torx 30 has snapped coming out. That is quite often the case. It's not life ending that coming out, it's just a little securing screw for the disc. Makes it easy putting all the brakes apart, but obviously once all the wheel bolts are in place, that will remain okay. So let's get this caliper off now. Hopefully that pushes back okay. The pads don't look too bad. So these aren't even half worn, to be honest, but you can see they are quite scored. They've probably just put pads in last time when it should have had discs as well. And the new pads haven't, look at the state of them. The new pads haven't moulded to the discs, bedded into the discs very well, so, sorry I should say. So we've now got two 17mm bolts, I think these are. So we'll get these off and get everything all cleaned up behind. You can see all the copper slip, that's a good sign. But new discs and pads required. I really hope this caliper pushes back mine, because I can't be bothered with that tonight. So as you can see, I've got my little brake wind back tool on here, and the calipers are pushing back nice and freely. Well, this side is anyway. We'll soon try the next side. I think this was actually the worst side when inspecting the brakes. So that's nearly back soon. You don't need to wind them back like this. You can just use a pair of water pump pliers or so on. But I think these are all okay now. And we'll be soon taking off the brake carrier. That's nice and free. So there you go, you nearly got these bolts out now. They actually came off okay. Let's say this car has got full service history. It must have been pretty well looked after, and the guys have done a good job of it. But they probably should have put a set of discs on there, but that's more than likely down to the customer being a bit greedy. There we go, we're nearly there. There we go. So what you need to do is you need to take all these shims off, replace them if possible, and also clean all the contact points for the brakes. You also need to get this disc off now, so it's probably going to take a good tap. Luckily, there's no edge left on this, what do we call it? Grub screw. I don't recommend doing that with a ratchet, by the way, but I don't know where my hammer is. I've made a right mess today, actually. I might actually use my jack handle or something. Don't copy off that. There we go, discs now off. Look at the state of that. No wonder it was brake judder. There we go, so we've got a nice clean braking surface. All the shims are clean. Didn't have to actually give us new ones, which I'm disappointed with. If the disc's on, that'll be held on properly. once the pads and the carrier are in. But we're going to be greasing all the contact points on the pads as well, so it makes it easy for the next person doing brakes, stops them sticking. And you also want to make sure these sliders on the pad carrier are moving nice and freely as well. If not, you will need some grease for them. If you don't appreciate copper grease, there is a special brake lube grease you can get. I think it's like a bright red colour, but I wouldn't recommend using copper slip if the sliders are seized, but we'll need a good clean out. There we go, and then finally we have the brake pads. Make sure they're not sided or rotational with the wheels. And you want to be putting a little bit of grease on these, on the ends there. On the one on the outside of the caliper, I always put a little bit there so it's easy to come apart next time. And then on one with the caliper piston facing to it, I always put a little dot in the middle too. I've just been responding to a YouTube viewer, a bit disgruntled. He thinks we're all here to rip people off. Now, Phil has said he's the car's, well, the other car, it's up at 1995. He reckons it's worth about £600 from the auction. Well, I got it quite cheap, actually. It was cap clean 1600, and I paid, how much was it? It was 1225 including fees. I think it was like 975 or something. Plus my collection, plus my cost of brake discs and pads, plus my cost for a clutch, sorting a handbrake, service, MOT, the labour costs, obviously for a clutch, brakes and all that, you're probably looking at about £300. And on top of that, you've got my advertising costs, my margin costs to pay the taxman and so on. You've got, obviously the VAT that I pay on the margin. You've got valeting costs, my time. But to Phil, we're all here to rip people off, and 1995 is no good. Well, guess what, Phil? At 1995, I won't be making a bean, but someone will be getting a tip-top car. I know it's in good condition. Same with this one. But here I am at about 7:30 on a Saturday night now, doing what I love, ripping people off, when I could be at home, having a takeaway, having a couple of drinks, chilling out, but instead I'm here making sure my cars are tip-top. Trust me, Phil, it's worth paying the extra, mate. I doubt he is watching, but Phil, I'd also like to say that out of these 3 Aygos, 107s I bought from auction, this one is probably going to make the most money. This one needs brakes, shockers, you name it. I did pay over the odds for it. Probably going to need a bit of paint work, so I might make a few £100 off it. The grey 107, I'll be lucky to do that because the sill is absolutely rotten. I'm going to show you that now, just to show you what you might be buying from auction, blind. There we go, pitch black. And here's a little 107. And these are still after trying to jack it up. If you want these off me, Phil, you are more than welcome. But I don't think you'll take them. Obviously, this is the one that costs us a clutch and all sorts. That one won't make any money either. And it's absolutely pitch black. I've got fireworks going off. I'm still here grafting, ready to rip people off. There we go. Back we go. We'll probably just do one side of the brakes today and do the rest on the Sunday morning. I think I've got a viewing on one of the Aygos, a white one, which is fully prepared. But here's the brakes. Lots of movement in there. The pads are moving nice and freely. We've got grease on them. We just need to pump the brake pedal and make sure that that is, because obviously circulate the brake fluid around that as well. There we go. So that is the, well, one side of the brakes done on a little Aygo. I will be doing the other side in the morning. I won't have to film that again because, well, believe it or not, it's going to be exactly the same. But yeah, it's all done on one side. Everything gone very smoothly. So we've just got this driver's side corner tomorrow. Hopefully everything's all nice and free like it was on the other side. We did have the mismatched wheel trim, which is up here. So I've ordered a new one off eBay. I think it worked out less than a tenner posted. So I'm really happy with that. What else have we got on the list of this car? So we've got the water ingress. We want the handbrake sorting. I probably will let the guys do that when they service it. I've just had a look at my list. So we've got MOT, service, power handbrake. We've got a couple of touch-ins to do on it and obviously a valet, and I think that's about it unless the mechanics find anything else. I'm going to give it a little run around the block tomorrow, make sure it's all good with the shocker as well. Brakes working, they're bedded in correctly, and from there we should have a nice little Aygo. I want to get it cleaned before I start looking at the bumper corner. When you say here it's not too bad, it is a little small car. Yes, it is going to have a couple of minor scratches and that on it. It's potentially being a first car at some point or an older person, and more than likely the next owner will be exactly the same and won't be bothered about it being absolutely perfect. But I'm going to get myself home now. Plenty to do tomorrow, and I think one of my mates is popping his car up as well to have a little look at. Might even have a go at having a valet on this, and I certainly need to give my car a quick clean as well. And we'll probably try and do a couple of little bits on the E46 as well. That's going into a local, an actual BMW specialist. Believe it or not, some of the local ones here in Darlington has just said, oh, it's an old car, it's not feasible to repair, you might as well just scrap it. No, thank you. It's my BMW. It's a 325 E46 in Oxford Green. Might be worth a couple of grand all fixed, but we all know how the BMWs appreciate in value, and I absolutely love this car. Where can you buy a manual straight six car that sounds like that, looks like that, and especially in such a beautiful colour as this Oxford Green? I've got a couple of little touch-ins I want to do on the Aygo tomorrow, so I'll get that done as well. Potentially a viewing on that as well. Little Fiat 500, I want to give that an extended road test. It has had the coolant all out and a new radiator, so I do want to take that a bit further. It's only been brought back from mechanics. However, it has been advertised and I do want it repictured as well. Because I don't know if I mentioned in the last video, it looks like the bumper's been painted on it, but it hasn't. It's a really nice straight car. It matches fine. I think it was just the sunlight. I'm going to take the little rock box home tonight. It has still got plenty of MOT, but it certainly won't be passing another one with that sill. So other than that, it seems to drive all right, apart from the handbrake, which hasn't been adjusted properly. Well, actually, I might not take it because the handbrake was pretty solid actually, which I wasn't too impressed with. I might actually have a walk up tonight, and I can take the BMW down tomorrow. Right, it's now after 8 o'clock. There's fireworks going off. I need my bed, I need some food, and I might pass a shop with some beer in it. I'll catch up with you all very shortly. Hope you've enjoyed this short video highlighting some of the prep that I have to do on these cars. I'll catch up with you soon now. Take care. Bye bye. And just before I do go, I wanted to mention two things quickly. First of all, I'm absolutely loving YouTube at the moment. Really enjoying it. And this channel is now monetized for the second month in a row, so I'd like to thank you guys for that. What I'm going to be doing is the little bits of money that we do earn per month, when we do have enough, will be invested into a little car that we can flip on in a bit of a trading up series, and we can see where we go from there. I'm really loving doing the videos. But secondly, after this video especially, I can't stress this enough, I've been playing about with brakes. We've probably saved about £100–120 in labour tonight by staying back for an hour and a half and doing them little bits and pieces. But honestly, if you're not fully confident with that, or with someone that's totally responsible and knows exactly what they're doing, especially with brakes, don't touch it. It's not worth someone having an accident up the road if you don't know what you're doing. The brakes are the only thing stopping the car, so please don't be touching them and working on them if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Thanks again, guys. Take care. Bye bye.